Hey guys, tonight we're not just telling a story, we're slipping into it, one sleepy step at a time. Imagine you're standing on the ancient shores of Thessaly, the crisp Aegean air a gentle lullaby against your skin. The scent of pine and salt drifts through the twilight, promising adventures that will stretch beyond the horizon. You can almost feel the smooth, worn stones beneath your bare feet as the sun dips, painting the sky in hues of deep violet and fading gold. This isn't just a tale, it's an immersive, perhaps even somnolent, journey into the very heart of Greek mythology. You're about to embark on an epic quest, one that many heroes before you, and certainly many after, found utterly exhausting. In fact, you probably won't survive this level of mythic detail without at least one involuntary yawn. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're joining us from somewhere cool, drop your location and local time in the comments. We love to see where everyone is tuning in from now. Dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your story, or rather, the story you're about to experience, begins not with a bang, but with a whimper, in the ancient city of Iolcus. You see, long before you ever thought about golden fleeces or clashing rocks, there was a king, Aeson, whose brother, Peleus, had a rather severe case of sibling rivalry. Peleus, driven by ambition and a distinct lack of familial affection, usurped Aeson's throne, claiming it as his own. It's a classic move. Isn't it the power-hungry uncle? The rightful heir cast aside, well, think of it as ancient Greek politics, but with more prophecies and fewer campaign ads. To protect young Jason, Aeson's son and the rightful heir, he was spirited away to the wilds of Mount Pelion, far from the clutches of his tyrannical uncle. And where do you send a young prince who needs to grow up strong, wise, and absolutely formidable to a centaur? Of course, not just any centaur, mind you, but Chiron, the most famous and respected educator in all of Greek mythology. If you ever wondered about ancient Greek pedagogy, Chiron's academy was probably the gold standard. He wasn't just teaching archery and spear throwing. You were receiving a holistic education. Imagine your school syllabus including astronomy, botany, medicine, music, and philosophy, all taught by a creature who was half man, half horse, and presumably had a fantastic stable setup for his classroom. Chiron instilled in you not just physical prowess, but a keen sense of justice, a thirst for knowledge, and, importantly, a very polite way of saying "excuse me" when you needed to gallop past someone. This isn't some quick wilderness survival course. This is years of dedicated tutelage, making you not just a warrior, but a scholar, a healer, and a musician. It's almost enough to make you consider a career change, isn't it? Though I suppose getting accepted into Chiron's program might be a bit tricky these days. While you were busy learning the ancient Greek equivalent of calculus and how to properly tune a lyre, back in Iolcus, King Peleus was having some rather unsettling dreams. The gods, it seems, were not amused by his usurpation. He consulted an oracle, as one did in those days when you needed divine guidance on, say, whether to invest in olives or wine. The oracle delivered a chilling prophecy: beware the man with one sandal. Just one. Not two. Not zero. But precisely one. Now, if you're Peleus, this is probably the most specific yet frustratingly vague warning you could receive. It's like being told to beware the person who's wearing that one particular shade of beige. You know it's important, but good luck spotting them in a crowd. Historians still argue whether the oracle's prophecy was a deliberate riddle or simply a concise divine warning, designed to keep Peleus perpetually paranoid. Whatever the case, it definitely set the stage for a dramatic entrance. Years passed, and you, now a strapping young man, felt the undeniable pull of destiny. The time had come to return to Iolcus and reclaim what was rightfully yours. You set out, a purposeful stride carrying you across the rugged Greek landscape. Your journey took you to the River Anoris, swollen and rushing from recent rains. As you approached, you saw an old woman struggling to cross. This wasn't just any old woman. Of course, this was Hera, queen of the gods, testing your character, as deities are wont to do when they're feeling a bit mischievous. Without a moment's hesitation, you offered to carry her across. A genuinely kind gesture, especially considering the river looked like it had swallowed a small waterfall. As you waded through the churning water, the current grew stronger, pulling at your feet. With each heavy step, the mud seemed to conspire against you. Until, with a final, valiant surge, you reached the far bank, but not without a casualty. Your right sandal, a perfectly respectable piece of footwear, had been sucked away by the relentless river. Oh, the indignity, all that training with Chiron, all that philosophical wisdom, and you lose a shoe to a river? It's practically a cosmic joke. And so, you arrived in Iolcus, a magnificent figure, tall and strong, but conspicuously, charmingly, one-sandaled. The irony, the poetic justice of it all was not lost on Peleus, who instantly recognized the fulfillment of the prophecy. Imagine the scene, you dusty from travel, perhaps a little wet from the river, standing before the usurper king, your missing sandal practically glowing with prophetic significance. The townspeople, sensing the gravitas of the moment, hushed, their whispers like a collective intake of breath. For Peleus, this was his worst nightmare, walking right into his throne room, albeit with one shoe missing. Peleus, though inwardly trembling with fear, was a cunning man. He wasn't about to outright refuse your claim. Instead, he employed a tactic as old as time, give the problem an impossible task. He feigned benevolence, expressing deep regret for your father's unfortunate circumstances, a polite way of saying, I totally stole his throne. He then suggested that if you truly wish to rule, you must first prove your worth by bringing him the most incredible treasure imaginable, the Golden Fleece, from the distant and dangerous land of Colchis. This wasn't just a golden sheepskin. It was a symbol of kingship, guarded by a sleepless dragon, in a land at the very edge of the known world. It was, in Peleus's mind, a suicide mission, neatly solving his problem without resorting to messy regicide. You listened, your mind already processing the challenge. Colchis, a sleepless dragon, a golden fleece. It sounded less like a quest and more like an elaborate trick. But your Chiron-taught sense of duty, coupled with a healthy dose of youthful idealism, compelled you to accept. You knew this wouldn't be a solo journey. No one could face such a monumental task alone. You would need heroes, the best of the best, the kind of legendary figures whose names still echo through the millennia. And so, with the weight of prophecy and a single missing sandal, your epic adventure was truly about to begin. The river, perhaps, had done you a favor after all, marking you for destiny, or at least making you easily identifiable to a paranoid king. This unique identifier, a single sandal, was a quirky tidbit that forever cemented your fate, demonstrating that sometimes the smallest details can trigger the grandest adventures. So, you've accepted the quest, the Golden Fleece, Colchis, a sleepless dragon, and, crucially, no actual boat. You stand there, perhaps still mentally searching for your missing sandal, realizing the scale of the task ahead. You can't just rent a rowboat for this kind of intercontinental treasure hunt. This isn't a quick jaunt across the bay for some fresh fish. This is a serious voyage to the literal ends of the known world, and quite possibly beyond. You're going to need something special, something faster, stronger, and perhaps a little more heroic than your average fishing vessel. This wasn't a job for just any boat, it was a job for the boat. And that's where the legendary shipwright Argus comes in. Not the hundred-eyed giant, thankfully, Mud, but a skilled craftsman, a master of timber and sail. Think of him as the ancient Greek equivalent of a custom yacht builder, except instead of sleek carbon fiber, he's working with good old-fashioned wood and elbow grease. You tasked him with constructing a vessel unlike any seen before. This ship wouldn't just carry you, it would embody the spirit of the quest itself, a floating symbol of courage and divine favor. Ancient Greek shipbuilding, while not quite the marvel of modern engineering, relied heavily on sturdy timber, often pine or fir, and ingenious methods of joining planks with pegs and mortise and tenon joints, creating surprisingly robust vessels for long voyages. It was a craft passed down through generations, a testament to practical knowledge and the unforgiving demands of the sea. But here's where things get truly mythical. This wasn't just a collaborative effort between you, Argus, and his team. The gods themselves decided to lend a hand. Specifically, the goddess Athena, she of wisdom, warfare, and surprisingly, shipbuilding. She took a keen interest in your endeavor, perhaps because she appreciated a good, challenging project, or perhaps because she had a soft spot for heroes on impossible quests. Athena didn't just offer moral support, she offered divine intervention. She provided a very special piece of timber from the talking oak trees of the sacred grove of Dodona. Yes, you heard that right. Talking trees. It sounds like something out of a rather surreal animated movie, doesn't it? But in this ancient world, it was just another Tuesday. This isn't just any wood. This is talking timber. It was placed into the keel of the Argo, right at the very heart of the ship, giving it the power of prophecy and, occasionally, the ability to complain about splinters. Presumably, you could probably ask it for directions, or maybe just for some encouraging words on a particularly choppy day. Imagine the conversations. "Are we there yet?" asks a frustrated Argonaut, and the ship's keel replies, in a low, woody rumble. "Patience, hero, the winds of destiny blow true." It's certainly more interactive than your average GPS. This unique, almost sentient component of the Argo elevated it from a mere vessel to a living, breathing part of your crew. It provided guidance, protection, and a constant reminder that you were truly under divine watch. Historians still argue whether the talking timber from Dodona was a literal piece of wood imbued with sentience, or if it was a symbolic representation of the oracular pronouncements from the Dodona sanctuary. Perhaps a piece of timber from a tree under which a prophet had delivered a key message to the shipbuilders or Jason himself. Either way, it made the Argo a truly unique vessel. Under Athena's guidance and Argus's skilled hands, the Argo began to take shape with astonishing speed. Day by day, the skeletal frame of the ship grew, its ribs reaching towards the sky like the outstretched arms of a titan. You'd observe the intricate process, the shaping of the great keel, the bending of the stout planks with fire and water, the hammering of thousands of bronze nails. The air would be filled with the scent of fresh-cut wood, hot tar, and the rhythmic clang of hammers. It was a symphony of creation, a testament to human ingenuity coupled with divine blessing. The Argo was designed for speed and endurance, swift enough to outrun any foe, sturdy enough to withstand the most furious storms. Its 50 oars were carefully crafted, each one a powerful lever for the men who would soon propel you forward. As the ship neared completion, you could feel the excitement building among the people of Iolcus. This wasn't just a local construction project, it was the birth of a legend. Whispers followed you through the bustling marketplace, "The Argo," they'd say, their voices hushed with awe. "The ship that will sail to the ends of the earth." You'd see the curious glances, the hopeful faces, and, occasionally, a nervous shudder from those who understood the sheer impossibility of your quest. It must have been a little like building the first spaceship, knowing you're about to point it at the moon, except with more mythological monsters and less breathable oxygen. The deck was wide and spacious, designed to accommodate not just the crew but also their provisions, weapons, and whatever strange treasures they might acquire. The mast, a towering pine, was ready to hoist a single square sail, woven from the finest linen, emblazoned perhaps with a symbol of your lineage or a prayer to the sea gods. Every detail, from the sturdy steering oars at the stern to the finely carved prow, spoke of purpose and destiny. It wasn't just a boat, it was an extension of your will, a vessel forged for a singular, audacious purpose. The ship itself was a marvel, not just for its physical attributes, but for the sheer audacity it represented. Building such a vessel at the very edge of the Bronze Age was a massive undertaking, demanding significant resources and collective effort. It speaks volumes about the societal organization and collaborative spirit of the time that such a project could be realized, even with divine assistance. It was the ancient equivalent of a moonshot project, requiring countless hours of labor and the expertise of many different crafts. This was a significant undertaking, not just for you, but for the entire community that supported its construction. With the Argo nearly complete, a sense of anticipation settled over you. The long years of training with Chiron, the unsettling prophecy, the confrontation with Peleus, it had all led to this. The ship was ready, or nearly so. But a ship, no matter how divinely built or intelligently timbered, is nothing without a crew. And not just any crew. You would need heroes. The kind of heroes who didn't mind talking to a piece of wood, who could face unimaginable dangers without a single complaint, and who, most importantly, wouldn't lose their sandals in a river right before a big quest. The next step was perhaps even more critical than the ship's construction, assembling the extraordinary individuals who would join you on this impossible, sleepy journey to the edge of the world. With the Argo gleaming proudly at the docks, its new timber smelling of pine and prophecy, your thoughts turn from the magnificent vessel to the even more magnificent individuals who would fill it. A ship, no matter how divinely constructed or imbued with talking wood, is just a very large, expensive bathtub without a crew. And you didn't just need a crew, you needed the crew. The call went out, echoing across the sun-drenched valleys and craggy mountains of Greece, a summons to every corner where heroes sharpened their blades and dreamt of glory. It was an invitation to the greatest adventure known to man, or at least to the greatest adventure known to the people living in the Greek archipelago around the Bronze Age. And oh, did they answer? Imagine a hero convention? But instead of flimsy costumes and autograph lines, you have actual demigods, kings, and legendary warriors showing up, ready to sign up for what was essentially a one-way trip to, maybe, just maybe, come back alive. This assembly wasn't just a random collection of strong people. It was a veritable who's who of Greek mythology. You've got Heracles. Of course, fresh from his labors, though perhaps not all 12 just yet, depending on which ancient source you're casually leafing through. He's the muscle, the brute strength, the guy you want around when a gate needs tearing down or a large rock needs to be, shall we say, relocated. He brings a certain gravitas and probably a rather imposing presence to the mess hall. Then there's Orpheus, the legendary musician whose lyre could charm rocks, rivers, and even the sternest of sea monsters. He's not exactly built for hand-to-hand combat, but imagine the morale boost long nights at sea would be less about existential dread and more about soothing melodies. Think of him as the ship's resident DJ, but with better taste in ancient Greek folk music. You also have Castor and Pollux, the Dioscuri, twin sons of Leda, though only Pollux is immortal, which must have made family dinners a bit awkward. Castor, the horse tamer, and Pollux, the boxer, offering a blend of noble equestrian skills and pugilistic prowess. You can almost hear them bickering about who gets to steer. The roster grew, each name a whisper of legend. Lynceus, with his impossibly keen eyesight, he could see through mountains. Or so the stories claimed. Forget binoculars, you've got Lynceus on lookout. His brother, Idas, was also there, known for his strength and somewhat hot-headed nature. You wanted a ship full of heroes, but sometimes heroes came with heroic personalities. And then there's Tiphys, the helmsman, a crucial pick. You might be the leader, but you need someone who knows how to navigate the choppy waters and read the ancient Greek weather reports. He's the unsung hero, the one who actually knows where you're going and how to get there without hitting any inconvenient sea monsters. You saw men like Meliger, the great boar hunter, his hands calloused from wrestling mythical beasts, ready for any challenge. Admetus, a king known for his hospitality, he probably brought some good snacks. Even Peleus, Achilles' father, was among them, already a warrior of renown. This was a gathering of champions, driven by the lure of fame, the call of adventure, and perhaps a desire to escape the humdrum of their respective kingdoms. In ancient Greek society, the pursuit of kleos, or immortal glory and renown through heroic deeds, was a profound motivator for men of noble birth. Often more important than personal wealth or comfort, it was their way of ensuring their names would be remembered long after their mortal lives faded. Not everyone who wanted to join got a spot, though, and there's an ongoing debate about who exactly was on board. For instance, historians still argue whether Atalanta, the swift huntress, actually sailed with the Argonauts. Some accounts say yes, noting her skill and courage, while others exclude her, perhaps due to the patriarchal nature of the time or differing interpretations of the myth. It's like trying to get a definitive guest list for an ancient, exclusive club. Everyone has a slightly different memory of who showed up, but whether she joined or not, the sheer fact that her name even comes up tells you the caliber of heroes you were drawing. As they arrived one by one, or in small groups, you could feel the energy shift around the Argo. The air practically crackled with anticipation. Each man brought his unique talents prophecy from Idmon, healing from Asclepius's sons, even the ability to transform his shape from Periclymenus. It was a veritable super team, each member a legend in his own right, contributing a specialized skill to the collective endeavor. You probably had to set up some sort of ancient HR department just to keep track of everyone's divine parentage and special abilities. So, you can turn into a snake. Great, just try not to do it in the galley. Imagine the logistical nightmare of equipping 50-plus heroes. 50 sets of armor, 50 spears, 50 shields, and enough rations to feed a small army for months. And the sheer personality management. You're dealing with individuals who are accustomed to being the main character in their own epic tales. It's like herding very powerful, very ego-driven cats, all of whom have a divine parent and a strong opinion on nautical direction. But despite the potential for clash, there was an underlying camaraderie, a shared purpose. They were all in it for something bigger than themselves, even if that something was a shiny sheepskin. The excitement wasn't just confined to the docks. News of the impending voyage spread like wildfire across Greece. People lined the shore, eager to catch a glimpse of the heroes, to cheer them on, to offer prayers for their safe return. This wasn't just your quest, it was their quest, a shared hope for glory and a testament to the adventurous spirit of humanity. You stood before them, a young man who had lost a sandal but gained a legendary crew, feeling the weight of expectation, the thrill of the unknown. The Argo, with its talking keel and its cargo of living legends, was ready. The time for dreaming was over. The time for sailing had begun. And with so many powerful personalities on board, you just knew there would be some fantastic opportunities for some playful banter, even if it meant risking a minor divine intervention. Just try not to spill any ambrosia on the deck. Okay, that stuff stains. With the Argo fully crewed, its mighty oars dipping into the cerulean waters, you finally push off from the shores of Iolcus. The cheers of the crowd slowly fade into the rhythmic splash of the oars and the creaking of the ship's timbers. You're sailing for the first time. You feel the vastness of the sea beneath you, the salt spray on your face, and the exhilarating pull of destiny. The talking timber in the keel, if you listen closely, probably hums a little tune of anticipation. It's exhilarating, a true awakening of the senses, a far cry from the familiar hum of a fan you might have on now. The initial days of the voyage are a blur of getting accustomed to life at sea, learning to work as a cohesive unit. You quickly discover who snores loudest, who tells the best or worst jokes, and who's surprisingly terrible at pulling an oar despite being a legendary hero. Heracles, for instance, probably has a very efficient rowing technique, while Orpheus might prefer to serenade the waves. It's an interesting dynamic, trying to maintain discipline and camaraderie among a group of individuals who are all, essentially, VIPs. Your first major stop brings you to the island of Lemnos. You see it on the horizon, a verdant shape rising from the shimmering sea. As you approach, a strange quiet descends. There are no men on the shore, no bustling docks filled with male laborers. It's oddly serene, almost too serene. As you guide the Argo into a sheltered cove, you notice only women observing you from the distant hills. Their expression's a mix of curiosity and something else, something that hints at a deeper story. And oh, what a story Lemnos has. You learn that the island's peculiar demographic situation wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was the result of a divine slight and a very human, very bloody retribution. The women of Lemnos, in their devotion, had somehow neglected to properly worship Aphrodite, the goddess of love, beauty, and, apparently, very specific hygiene. In a fit of divine pique, because even goddesses can be a bit petty, Aphrodite cursed the women with a most unfortunate, shall we say, aromatic affliction. Their husbands, understandably, found this less than appealing. Instead of working through it, the men of Lemnos, being rather unchivalrous and perhaps a tad superficial, decided to abandon their wives and take Thracian concubines from the mainland. Now, if you're a woman of Lemnos, having been cursed by a goddess and then rejected by your husband for someone new, you're probably not feeling too charitable. So the women, led by their queen, Hypsipyle, decided to take matters into their own hands. In a night of terrible fury, they rose up and slaughtered every single man on the island. Every single one. It was a rather extreme form of marital separation. To put it mildly, imagine waking up to find you're the only male left on the entire island, and everyone's looking at you with a rather suspicious glint in their eye. Thankfully, you just arrived, so you're still a new, fresh, and hopefully non-aromatic face. Queen Hypsipyle, however, had a tiny secret. She couldn't bring herself to kill her own father, King Thoas. So she smuggled him away in a hollow chest and set him adrift at sea, hoping he'd find safety elsewhere. A small act of mercy in a sea of vengeance. This quirky tidbit highlights a moment of personal conflict within a larger, brutal societal upheaval. Upon your arrival, the women, having only known male betrayal and violence, were initially wary. But their queen, Hypsipyle, a pragmatic ruler, realized that for their society to continue, they needed new blood. You, as a handsome, one-sandaled leader of a ship full of strapping heroes, fit the bill quite nicely. After some cautious negotiation and a bit of explaining who you were and why you were there, perhaps omitting the lost a shoe in a river part for a bit of mystique, you and your Argonauts were welcomed, if not with open arms, then certainly with a surprising level of hospitality. Your stay on Lemnos stretched out. Days turned into weeks, and weeks, well, they started to turn into months. The women were, let's just say, very hospitable. The Argonauts, who had perhaps envisioned a swift, heroic dash to Colchis and back, found themselves rather comfortably settled into domestic life. It was a tempting diversion. Plenty of good food, pleasant company, and absolutely no dragons. It's easy to get sidetracked when the alternative involves sailing into unknown dangers. You, as their leader, found yourself particularly entwined with Queen Hypsipyle. A romance blossomed, and soon, children were conceived twin sons, in fact, Euneus and Thoas. It's a classic shipwrecked on a tropical island with beautiful local scenario, minus the actual shipwreck. While you were busy playing ancient Greek house, some of the Argonauts began to get restless. Heracles, especially, was not one for prolonged stays. He was a man of action, of Herculean labors, not leisurely island living. He probably started eyeing the Argo, wondering if it had grown barnacles from disuse, and grumbling about the golden fleece getting impatient. Mainstream historical fact. In many ancient Greek myths, Heroes like Heracles are driven by an almost compulsive need for action and the completion of their fated tasks, often seeing lengthy delays as unproductive or even a sign of weakness. He began to loudly remind everyone of the true purpose of the voyage, perhaps slamming his club down for emphasis. "Are we here to start a new civilization?" he boomed. "Or to fetch a fleece?" His impatience, though disruptive to your newfound domestic bliss, was a necessary jolt. Historians still argue whether the Argonauts' protracted stay on Lemnos was a divine test, a symbolic representation of the dangers of complacency, or simply an early Greek author's way of explaining why such an urgent quest took so long to get going. Whatever the reason, Heracles' insistence finally prevailed. With a bittersweet farewell, you and your crew, now perhaps a little less eager for adventure and a little more attached to island life, prepared to set sail once more. You left behind a legacy of sons and the faint memory of a curse, as the Argo slipped away from the shores of the all-female island, propelled forward by the urgent call of a golden fleece and the restless spirit of a very strong man. Leaving Lemnos, you can almost feel the collective sigh of the Argonauts. There's a certain bittersweet melancholy to it, a sense of having left something important behind. Perhaps you glance back at the receding shoreline, wondering about the future of those new lives you helped bring into the world, and if you'll ever get a world's best dad mug from them. But the call of the golden fleece and the increasingly impatient glares from Heracles propel you forward. You're back on the open sea, the rhythmic splashing of oars once again your primary soundtrack, broken only by the occasional sea shanty from Orpheus. Your voyage takes you to the land of the Doliones, a hospitable people ruled by the young, benevolent king Cyzicus. As you pull into their harbors, you're greeted not with suspicion, but with genuine warmth. In ancient Greece, the concept of xenia, or sacred hospitality, was incredibly important, a moral imperative enforced by Zeus himself, ensuring that hosts offered shelter and provisions to guests, and guests in turn were respectful and not burdensome. Think of it as the ultimate five-star resort experience. But with more sacrificial altars and fewer mini-fridges, the Doliones welcome you and your crew, offering feasts and friendship. Eager to hear tales of your travels and the promise of your grand quest, King Cyzicus, a man of integrity and good cheer, quickly forms a bond with you. Life is pretty good for a while. You spend your days enjoying the hospitality, perhaps even helping out. The Doliones, however, have a problem towering in the nearby mountains are the fearsome Gegenes, six-armed giants. These monstrous beings aren't exactly good neighbors. They're more of the throw rocks at your city and generally cause mayhem type. Ever the heroes, the Argonauts, with Heracles at the forefront, naturally offer to help. You ascend into the craggy peaks, and with your combined strength and skill, you make quick work of the multi-limbed behemoths. It's a satisfying victory, a moment of true heroic camaraderie, making you feel like you've actually accomplished something useful beyond just sailing. With the giants vanquished and the Doliones safe, you prepare to depart. Farewells are exchanged, gifts offered, and promises of lasting friendship made. The wind is fair, and the Argo sets sail, leaving the welcoming shores of Cyzicus behind. You feel a sense of accomplishment, a lightness in your heart, having helped good people without any hidden agendas or divine curses. This feels like a quest well underway, but the fates, it seems, have a rather twisted sense of humor. That night, as you sail away, a furious storm suddenly descends upon the sea. The winds howl, the waves crash, and the Argo, for all its divine construction and talking timber, is tossed about like a toy. Despite the helmsman Tiphys's best efforts, the storm is too strong, too disorienting. When the tempest finally begins to abate, you find yourselves utterly disoriented in the pitch black of night. Pulled back towards a familiar shoreline, you drop anchor, exhausted, relieved to have found land, even if you're not entirely sure where you are. This unpredictable element of ancient sea travel, the sudden violent storms, was a constant threat, and sometimes even divine favor couldn't override nature's fury. Unbeknownst to you, You have been driven back to the very same land you departed from just hours earlier, the land of the Doliones. But it's night, and in the darkness, everything looks different. The Doliones, seeing an unknown ship approaching their shores in the dead of night, after recently having giant problems, assume the worst. They mistake the Argo for an invading enemy fleet, perhaps new monsters or vengeful giants. And you, the Argonauts, equally disoriented and unable to recognize the familiar shoreline in the gloom, assume the attacking figures are aggressive locals or perhaps pirates. A tragic, horrific battle erupts in the darkness. Swords flash, spears fly, and the shouts of battle mingle with the crash of waves. It's a chaotic, desperate struggle, a horrifying misunderstanding. In the confusion, you, in your fierce determination, strike down an opponent. Only when the first rays of dawn pierce the horizon, painting the scene in a ghastly light, does the terrible truth become agonizingly clear. As the light spreads, you see the face of the man you struck down, and your heart plummets. It's King Cyzicus, the kind, hospitable king you had befriended, the man whose people you had just saved from giants. You had unknowingly killed your own host, a violation of the sacred Xenia you both observed. It's a moment of utter devastation, a gut-wrenching realization that you've done the very thing you sought to prevent. The silence that follows is deafening, broken only by the mournful cries of the Doliones as they recognize their fallen king. The Argonauts, sick with grief and shock, can only stare at the tragic scene. Historians still argue whether this tragic misunderstanding was a cruel twist of fate, a divine punishment for the Argonauts lingering on Lemnos, or simply a narrative device to underscore the unpredictable and often harsh realities of epic voyages. Whatever the deeper meaning, the immediate impact was profound. Days of mourning follow. The Doliones, despite their immense sorrow, do not blame you, recognizing the grim hand of fate in the tragedy. They join you in elaborate funeral rites for King Cyzicus, a solemn procession, a grand pyre, and games held in his honor, an ancient way of honoring the dead and attempting to appease the gods. This quirky tidbit of elaborate mourning rituals involving games highlights the importance of honoring the deceased in ancient Greek culture. Even in such a bewildering circumstance, the winds refuse to blow. The sea remains eerily calm, a clear sign from the gods that you cannot leave until proper atonement has been made. You offer solemn sacrifices to Apollo and other deities, seeking forgiveness for the unintended bloodshed. It's a humbling experience, a stark reminder that even the most heroic intentions can lead to the most tragic outcomes. Finally, after much prayer and deep reflection, a favorable breeze stirs, a sign that the gods have accepted your sorrow and your sacrifices. With heavy hearts and a newfound understanding of the sea's capriciousness and fate's cruelty, you once again prepare to set sail, leaving behind a profound legacy of both friendship and unforeseen tragedy. You now carry the weight of this loss, a somber undertone to the golden promise of the fleece. Leaving the somber shores of Cyzicus, a collective quiet descends upon the Argo. The rhythmic splash of the oars, once a sound of anticipation, now echoes with the weight of recent tragedy. You sail onward, the taste of grief still fresh, a stark reminder that even the most heroic ventures are susceptible to the cruel whims of fate. The usually boisterous Heracles is particularly subdued, his massive frame radiating an unusual quiet intensity. The loss of King Cyzicus hangs heavy in the air, a shadow over your quest for glory. As you push further eastward, the landscapes begin to subtly change. The familiar, rugged coastline of mainland Greece gives way to new vistas, hinting at the vast, unexplored world that stretches out before you. The days blend into a pattern of sailing, rowing, and keeping watch. The talking timber in the keel, usually so eager with its subtle hums of direction, seems to share in the ship's solemn mood. Its prophetic whispers hush to a mere murmur. Your journey brings you to the land of the Mysians, a place of lush forests and abundant fresh water, near a city called Chios. It's a welcome sight after days at sea, promising a chance to stretch cramped limbs, replenish supplies, and perhaps even find a moment of peace. You guide the Argo into a sheltered bay, the ship gliding smoothly through the calm waters, a stark contrast to the storm that had recently plagued you. Among your crew is a young man named Hylas. He's not a warrior in the mold of Heracles or a king like you, but he's something equally important. Heracles' beloved companion and squire. In ancient Greece, such close companionships between older heroes and younger protégés were common, often serving as mentorships and deep personal bonds, a social dynamic that often involved paiderastia, a form of idealized same-sex love. Hylas is described as exceptionally handsome, a youth of striking beauty, which, as you'll soon find out, can be both a blessing and a curse. Upon docking, Hylas, eager to help, takes a bronze pitcher and sets off into the verdant landscape to find fresh water. He heads towards a spring, known for its clear, cool waters, shaded by ancient trees. The air is thick with the scent of wildflowers and damp earth. A serene and idyllic setting. You can almost hear the gentle murmur of the spring as it bubbles up from the ground. But this particular spring, it turns out, is not just a source of refreshment. It's also the domain of water nymphs, spirits of the fresh waters. These nymphs are beautiful, ethereal beings, and they spend their days playing among the reeds and admiring their own reflections. When Hylas approaches, his youthful beauty, as if lit by an inner light, immediately captivates them. They see him, and their world, typically concerned with flowing currents and shimmering surfaces, is suddenly consumed by his presence. One nymph, named Dryope, perhaps bolder or more enchanted than the others, reaches out from beneath the water and pulls Hylas into the depths. He cries out, a startled gasp, but the waters close over him. He's not drowned, not killed. He's simply taken, abducted by the nymphs, drawn into their watery realm, perhaps to live a life of eternal enchantment, or perhaps merely to be admired. It's a rather romantic way to vanish, if you're a nymph, but a rather terrifying way to disappear if you're a human going for a simple water run. When Hylas doesn't return, Heracles, feeling an unease that only a deep bond can create, goes to search for him. He calls out Hylas' name, his booming voice echoing through the forest. But there is no reply. As the hours tick by, Heracles' concern turns to frantic desperation. He scours the banks of the spring, turning over every stone, peering into every shadowy crevice, his mighty strength now channeled into a desperate search for his lost companion. Other Argonauts, sensing Heracles' distress, join the search party, Polydeuces, the boxer, and a few others. They spread out, calling Hylas' name, their voices growing hoarser with each passing moment. Meanwhile, back on the Argo, the crew begins to grow restless. The sun dips lower, painting the sky in fiery hues. And still, Heracles and the search party haven't returned. The helmsman, Tiphys, urges you to consider sailing on. There's a quest to fulfill, a golden fleece to retrieve, and time is, quite literally, sailing away. This was a difficult decision, a test of leadership. Do you wait indefinitely for a lost comrade, potentially jeopardizing the entire mission? Or do you press on, leaving a hero behind? As the debate rages among the remaining Argonauts, a sea god, sometimes said to be Glaucus himself, rises from the waves, a shimmering figure amidst the deepening twilight. He reveals the truth Hylas is lost to them, held by the nymphs, either taken to their watery home forever, or simply released into a new, mysterious existence. It's a surreal moment, a reminder that the world is filled with unseen forces and unexpected outcomes. This quirky tidbit of a sea god appearing to deliver the bad news highlights the prevalent belief in divine intervention and communication in the Greek mythological world. Heracles, upon learning Hylas' fate, is heartbroken. His grief is immense, perhaps even more crushing than the weight of the heavens he once bore. He refuses to leave the search. He won't abandon Hylas, Not now. Not ever. Despite your pleas, despite the urgency of the quest, Heracles, a hero of unparalleled strength, makes a deeply personal, agonizing decision. He will stay in Mysia, continuing his solitary, desperate search for Hylas. You, as the leader, must accept his choice, no matter how painful. And so, with a heavy heart, you give the order to hoist the sails. The Argo pulls away from the shore, leaving behind not just a comrade, but a force of nature, a legend in his own right. The ship feels lighter, almost hollow, without Heracles' immense presence. It's a profound loss for the expedition, both in terms of raw power and the sheer morale boost his presence provided. Historians still argue whether Heracles' departure from the Argo was a preordained event, a convenient way for later mythmakers to explain his absence from the rest of the Argonautic saga, or a genuine representation of the overwhelming power of personal grief, even for the greatest of heroes. As the shoreline fades, you look out at the vast, indifferent sea, understanding that your journey, already marked by tragedy, has now lost one of its brightest stars. The quest for the Golden Fleece just became infinitely harder, and a little more lonely. The Argo sails on, a little lighter on its keel, and a lot heavier in its heart. The immense absence of Heracles is palpable. You feel it in the quiet moments, in the reduced volume of the ship's banter, in the way certain tasks now seem just a little more daunting. It's like losing your heaviest anchor and your loudest motivational speaker all at once. The loss of Hylas and Heracles' subsequent departure casts a long shadow, a grim reminder that even for heroes, personal tragedy can halt the grandest of quests. Yet the Golden Fleece still beckons, a distant, shimmering promise that forces you to push onward, to brave the endless, indifferent sea. Days pass in a new rhythm. The remaining Argonauts, though saddened, rally around you. There's a renewed sense of camaraderie born from shared loss, a tighter bond forged in the quiet understanding that the stakes are higher than ever. Orpheus plays softer, more melancholic tunes, while the other heroes perhaps row with a little more grim determination. You keep your eyes on the horizon, seeking not just land, but perhaps a distraction, a new challenge to focus your collective energy. That challenge soon arrives. You approach the shores of a land known as the Bebryces, a wild and rugged country. As you draw closer, a figure emerges on the shore, a hulking, imposing man with a wild beard and an unsettling glare. This is King Amycus, the ruler of the Bebryces, and he's not exactly putting out a welcome mat. Instead, his presence alone seems to convey a hostile warning. Amycus, you learn, has a rather unique and, frankly, quite aggressive custom. He challenges every single foreign visitor who dares to land on his shores to a boxing match. It's not a friendly spar, it's a fight to the death, or at least to utter incapacitation. If the visitor loses, they forfeit their life, and often their possessions too. If they win, they're granted passage. It's an interesting take on port control, certainly more intimidating than a customs declaration. Imagine having to literally fight your way through airport security. This quirky tidbit of a king enforcing entry via a brutal boxing match highlights a common trope in Greek myth, the tyrannical, boastful ruler who challenges outsiders, the Argonauts. Hearing this exchange uneasy glances. After the tragedy with Cyzicus, no one is eager for another avoidable conflict, but refusing would mean turning back, an unthinkable act. Someone has to step forward. You look to your crew, wondering who among them possesses the specific skill and courage for such a brutal contest. And then, a figure steps forward, calm and resolute. It's Polydeuces, one of the Dioscuri twins. He's not as overtly massive as Heracles, but his reputation as a formidable boxer is legendary, whispered among the athletic circles of ancient Greece. He possesses the skill, the agility, and the sheer grit to face such a challenge. Polydeus accepts the challenge, a quiet nod sealing his fate against the boastful king. The stage is set on the dusty beach, King Amycus, a brute of a man, eyes Polydeuces with contempt, confident in his undefeated streak. Mainstream historical fact, ancient Greek boxing, or pygmachia, was incredibly brutal. Boxers wrapped their hands with leather thongs, sometimes studded with metal, known as hemantes. There were no rounds, no weight classes, and fights typically continued until one combatant was knocked out, submitted, or died. It was less a sport for points and more a test of raw endurance and lethal force, a true test of a man's arete or excellence. This wasn't a gentleman's sport. It was a bare-knuckle brawl where the only goal was to inflict maximum damage. The fight begins. Amycus charges, a whirlwind of fists, aiming to overpower Polydeuces with sheer force. But Polydeuces is swifter, more agile, dodging the king's heavy blows with grace. He dances around Amycus, delivering quick, precise jabs, wearing the larger man down. You watch from the sidelines, your heart pounding with every punch, every grunt. The dust rises from the ground as their feet shuffle, the air thick with the scent of sweat and anticipation. Amycus, fueled by arrogance and a history of easy victories, grows increasingly frustrated as Polydeuces evades his attacks, a grin almost playing on the Argonauts' lips. The battle is a grueling display of ancient combat. Amycus, tiring, becomes reckless. Polydeuces seizes his opportunity. With a sudden, powerful feint, he draws the king in, then delivers a devastating blow to the head. A perfectly timed punch that sends Amycus crashing to the ground. Unconscious, or perhaps, as some stories imply, dead on the spot. The beach falls silent, the tension momentarily broken by the shock of the king's defeat. It's a decisive victory, a testament to skill over brute force, and a reminder that the Argonauts, even without Heracles, are still a force to be reckoned with. But the fight isn't over. The Bebryces, enraged by the sight of their king's defeat, suddenly charge forward, a mob of furious warriors seeking vengeance. It's an ambush, a chaotic surge of spears and clubs. The Argonauts, however, are ready. They are a trained unit, hardened by their recent sorrows and challenges. Swords are drawn, shields raised, and the beach becomes a scene of intense, close-quarters combat. You lead your men, fighting alongside them, your experience with Chiron guiding your blade. The battle is fierce, but the Argonauts, a collection of Greece's finest warriors, are ultimately superior. They fight with the discipline and courage of true heroes, driving back the angry Bebryce, scattering them into the surrounding forests. It's a swift, brutal engagement, a testament to their collective prowess. Historians still argue whether King Amycus's boxing challenge was rooted in ancient athletic rituals, a form of local defense mechanism, or simply a convenient plot device to showcase Polydeuces' prowess and the Argonauts' resilience after Heracles' departure. Whatever the specific motivations, it allowed the Argonauts to reaffirm their strength. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the beach, the Argo is once again ready to depart. This time, the mood is different. There's still the lingering weight of past tragedies, but the victory over Amycus and the Bebryce has brought a renewed sense of purpose and confidence. You proved that even without the colossal strength of Heracles, the Argonauts were capable of overcoming formidable challenges. Polydeuces stands tall, bruised but triumphant, a symbol of their enduring power. The taste of victory, however grimly earned, strengthens your resolve. The quest, though difficult, was still achievable, and so, with a fresh set of supplies and a renewed sense of determination, you raise the anchor, eager to leave this hostile shore behind, setting your sights on the mysterious and distant lands that still lie ahead. With the echoes of battle fading and the Bebryce's shore receding behind you, the Argo sails on, a renewed sense of purpose filling its timbers. The victory over King Amycus, however grimly earned, has reinforced a crucial truth even without Heracles. This crew of heroes is formidable. You feel a surge of confidence, a quiet determination settling in. The sea air, once heavy with recent sorrow, now carries a hint of anticipation, a whisper of the unknown challenges and crucial encounters that lie ahead. Your journey continues along the coast of Thrace, a land often depicted as wild and untamed. The days are a steady rhythm of rowing, navigating, and scanning the horizon. The talking timber in the Argo's keel, ever subtle, seems to hum a slightly more optimistic tune, though perhaps still with a cautionary undertone. It's a good thing you have a living GPS, even if it communicates in creaks and groans. Eventually, you reach the land of Salamidesis, a place overshadowed by a profound and pitiful sorrow. As you approach, you hear tales of its king, Phineas, a once great prophet, now living under a terrible curse. You prepare to land, your senses alert. This isn't a place of open hostility, but rather a place of deep, profound suffering. You find King Phineas, and the sight is truly heartbreaking. He is an old man, blind and emaciated, his face etched with endless torment. His once sharp prophetic mind is intact, but his body is wasted. His curse inflicted by the gods. Some say Zeus for revealing too much of the future. Others Apollo for some forgotten slight, is a cruel and perpetual punishment. Whenever Phineas attempts to eat a meal, to nourish his starving body, the harpies descend. And what are the harpies? You imagine the absolute worst kind of dinner guests, then give them wings, sharp claws, and a taste for ruining perfectly good food. They are hideous, bird-like women, with sharp talons and faces twisted with malice. They don't just snatch the food, they foul whatever they leave behind with their disgusting droppings and an unbearable stench, making any remaining morsels inedible. Phineas is trapped in a perpetual state of starvation and torment, a living testament to the dangers of offending the Olympians. This quirky tidbit of the harpies' specific method of tormenting Phineas, beyond just stealing food, paints a vivid, albeit nauseating, picture of their cruelty. The sight of Phineas's suffering moves you and your crew deeply. These are heroes, after all, and they've just recently suffered loss themselves. You know a desperate situation when you see one. It's clear that for any prophecy to be gained from him, you first have to help him. You discuss among yourselves, and a plan begins to form. You realize that among your own ranks are the very heroes fated to end Phineas's torment. Zetes and Calais, the winged sons of Boreas, the North Wind. They have the ability to fly, a crucial skill for dealing with airborne pests. Emiyamu. It's almost too convenient, isn't it? Like finding the exact bug spray for a very specific mythical infestation. You set a meal for Phineas, a tempting array of food, hoping to lure the harpies out. You stand by, armed and ready, your heart pounding with anticipation. As Phineas reaches for a morsel, the air suddenly fills with a horrid flapping of leathery wings and a piercing shriek. The harpies descend, dark, squawking forms, their talons outstretched, ready to snatch the food. The stench they emit is truly horrendous, making your stomach churn. You try to hold your breath, but it's no use. It's a smell that clings, but this time, they're met with resistance. With a mighty leap, Zetes and Calais launch themselves into the air, their powerful wings beating against the wind. They pursue the harpies relentlessly, driving them away from Phineas's meal, chasing them across the sky. The chase is epic, a dizzying aerial ballet. The harpies, accustomed to unchallenged terror, shriek in surprise and rage as they are finally met with their match. The chase continues for a long distance. Some versions of the myth say as far as the Straphades Islands, where Iris, the goddess of the rainbow and messenger of the gods, finally intervenes, promising that the harpies will never bother Phineas again. It's a divine cease and desist order. With the harpies vanquished, Phineas is finally able to eat a full meal, his first in what must have felt like an eternity. He eats slowly, savoring every bite, the relief palpable in his emaciated frame. The Argonauts watch, a sense of quiet satisfaction settling over them. It's a good deed, a true act of heroism, and for once there's no tragic misunderstanding involved. In gratitude for their deliverance, Phineas, his strength slowly returning, offers you something far more valuable than gold, or provisions he offers you as prophetic knowledge. He reveals the dangers that lie ahead on your journey to Colchis, giving you precise instructions on how to navigate the most perilous obstacles. Mainstream historical fact. Seers and oracles held immense power and influence in ancient Greek society, often consulted by kings and commoners alike for guidance on everything from military campaigns to agricultural decisions, reinforcing the belief in divine intervention and predestination. His most critical warning concerns the Symplegades, the clashing rocks. He describes them vividly: two immense mobile rocks that guard the entrance to the Black Sea, constantly crashing together, crushing anything that dares to pass between them. No ship, he explains, has ever made it through, but he provides a crucial strategy, a clever little trick. You must first send a dove through the passage. If the dove makes it, then you have a chance. But you must row with all your might immediately after it, before the rocks can clash again. If the dove fails, then your quest is doomed. It's a strange, almost whimsical test. Isn't it, relying on a bird to tell you if you're about to be squished like a grape? Phineas's prophecy is invaluable. It transforms the daunting unknown into a navigable, albeit still perilous, path. You now have a blueprint for survival, a secret weapon against the formidable forces of nature and myth. His words fill you with a mixture of dread and renewed resolve. You thank him profusely, offering what little you can in return, knowing that his gift of knowledge is worth more than any treasure. Historians still argue whether Phineas's excessive revelation of prophecy was truly an offense punishable by the gods, or if it symbolizes the inherent dangers of mortals possessing too much divine knowledge, a concept that recurs throughout Greek mythology. Whatever the true cosmic reason for his torment, his ordeal became your salvation. As you prepare to depart, Phineas, no longer tormented, stands on the shore, a beacon of thanks. The sight of him, now at peace, fills you with a quiet satisfaction. You leave Salmydessus with the heavy weight of the past still present, but now also with the immense burden of a new, terrifying, yet essential piece of information the clashing rocks await. And you've got a pigeon to prepare. Leaving Phineas, a man now finally at peace, you feel a new kind of tension settle over the Argo. It's not the uncertainty of the unknown anymore. It's the certainty of the truly terrifying. Phineas's prophecy, so vital and clear, has given you a blueprint for survival, but it has also painted a vivid picture of the sheer impossibility of what lies ahead the Symplegades, the clashing rocks. The air thickens with anticipation, a nervous energy that hums louder than the gentle creak of the talking timber in your keel. Every ripple in the water seems to whisper of impending doom. Every gust of wind feels like a breath holding its own. You sail towards the entrance of the Black Sea, a vast and mysterious expanse of water. This passage, which in the real world we know as the Bosporus, or near it, has always been a treacherous choke point for maritime traffic. Mainstream historical fact. The narrow straits linking the Aegean to the Black Sea were notoriously difficult to navigate in antiquity due to strong currents, shifting winds, and limited visibility, often leading to shipwrecks and making them a significant geographical and strategic obstacle. Imagine trying to sail a large wooden ship through a constantly moving, very angry keyhole. This was the ancient world's version of navigating rush hour traffic on a collapsing bridge. As you draw closer, the sound begins. A low rumble, growing louder and more ominous with every passing moment. It's a grinding, crashing sound, like mountains arguing with each other. You feel it in the timbers of the Argo, a deep vibration that resonates through your very bones. Then, through the misty spray, you see them two colossal rock formations, immense and jagged, guarding the narrow strait. They are not stationary, they are alive, constantly moving, slamming together with terrifying force, then recoiling, only to crash again, sending plumes of foam and spray high into the air. The water around them churns into a chaotic maelstrom, a swirling vortex of white, a watery grave for any ship foolish enough to attempt passage unprepared. The sheer scale of the simple gates is breathtaking and, frankly, a bit soul-crushing. You can see the grim evidence of their destructive power-splintered mass, shattered hulls, and the dark, silent hulks of countless failed voyages scattered on the rocks below. It's a natural barrier designed, it seems, purely to dissuade any adventurous traveler from proceeding. But you have Phineas's instructions, a slender thread of hope in this terrifying spectacle. You approach the chasm with extreme caution, the Argo gliding through the churning waters, its oarsmen holding their breath. Every Argonaut is on edge, their faces grim with a mixture of fear and resolute determination. This is it. This is the moment of truth. You stand at the prow, holding the small white dove that Phineas instructed you to use. It's a rather undignified, yet vital tool for an epic quest. Isn't it relying on a bird to tell you if you're about to become ancient Greek driftwood? With a deep breath and a silent prayer to the gods, you release the dove. It flutters upwards, a tiny speck against the immense, menacing rocks. For a moment, it seems to hesitate, perhaps sensing the danger before flying directly towards the gap. The rocks loom, poised to crash. You watch, transfixed, as the dove darts through the narrow opening, its small body a fragile embodiment of hope. Then, with a deafening roar, the rocks slam together behind it. A massive wave of water surges outwards, threatening to engulf the Argo. But the dove, a testament to its plucky spirit, has made it just barely. As it flies clear, you notice a peculiar detail: its tail feathers have been clipped, caught in the very last moment of the clashing rocks. This quirky tidbit, the dove losing its tail feathers, is a subtle yet powerful sign the passage is possible, but it will be a near thing, a touch-and-go experience that will leave its mark. Now, you shout, your voice cutting through the roar of the sea. Row. With all your might, the Argonauts respond as one, their combined strength a single, powerful force. They pull on the oars with a desperation born of terror and determination, their muscles straining, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. The Argo surges forward, a slender vessel rushing headlong into the jaws of destruction. The talking timber in the keel probably screams a little. If it could, a mix of excitement and absolute dread. You steer with precision, guiding the ship directly into the frothing, turbulent gap. The walls of rock rise impossibly high on either side, threatening to swallow you whole. You hear the creaking of the timbers, the groan of the mast joint as the ship is buffeted by the surging currents and the sheer force of the impending clash. The air fills with the smell of brine and pulverized rock. It feels like the entire world is collapsing around you. Just when it seems the rocks will meet, just when you brace for the final impact, a miracle happens. The Argo, propelled by the collective power of its heroic crew and perhaps a subtle nudge from a benevolent deity Hera, perhaps still watching out for you, slips through. You emerge into the open sea, breathless, drenched in spray, your heart hammering against your ribs. You look back, and there, behind you, the impossible has occurred. The simple gates, the clashing rocks, are no longer moving. They stand fixed, separate, transformed by your passage. The prophecy has been fulfilled once a ship, no matter how small, and passed through them. They would become stationary forever. Historians still argue whether the simple gates were a mythological representation of the actual navigational hazards of the Bosporus, a symbolic test of humanity's will against overwhelming natural forces, or a divine mechanism to separate the known world from the mysterious East. Whatever their origin, you have conquered them. The relief that washes over the Argo is immense, a wave of exhaustion and exultation. You did it. You overcame the insurmountable. You are alive. There's a moment of stunned silence, then a burst of triumphant shouts, a collective cheer that echoes across the water. You face down a literal geological nightmare and come out the other side, albeit with a bit of damage to the stern ornament, which might be a metaphor for something, but you're too tired to think about it right now. The Argo sails on, into the vast, glittering expanse of the Black Sea, a realm of new mysteries and, you hope, fewer clashing landmasses. The hardest part, surely, is over. Or so you tell yourself, as the last rays of the sun paint the now still rocks in a golden, almost benign glow. With the colossal Symplegades now a silent, immobile monument behind you, a profound sense of accomplishment settles over the Argo. You've navigated the impossible, survived a literal geological nightmare, and emerged into the vast, open expanse of the Black Sea. The relief is immense, palpable. You spend the next phase of the journey recovering, repairing the minor damage to the Argo's stern ornament, a battle scar, really, and allowing the sheer exhaustion of the ordeal to wash over you. The talking timber in the keel finally seems to relax its constant murmur, perhaps letting out a silent, woody sigh of its own. The Black Sea itself is a mysterious body of water. For the ancient Greeks, it was the inhospitable sea, or Pontus Axinus, before they managed to tame it with their settlements and trade, eventually renaming it the hospitable sea, Pontus Euxinus. But for you, sailing into it for the first time, it's still a realm of the unknown, vast and imposing. The air feels different here, perhaps cooler, and the light takes on a distinct quality, hinting at the edges of the known world. The anticipation for Colchis, the legendary land at the easternmost edge of the sea, builds with every nautical mile. It's the ultimate destination, the land guarding the Golden Fleece, a place spoken of in whispers and shrouded in myth. Finally, after what feels like an eternity of sailing, the shores of Colchis appear on the horizon. The first impression is striking a land of vibrant, almost overwhelming green, with towering mountains and lush river valleys. The city of Aya, the capital, gleams in the distance, its architecture distinct, its people a sight to behold. They are Colchians, a people often described as dark-skinned, with distinctive linen clothing and a reputation for fierce independence and advanced metallurgy. Mainstream historical fact. The ancient Greeks often viewed peoples from the East, or barbaroi non-Greek speakers, as exotic and powerful, often attributing to them advanced knowledge or mystical abilities, sometimes with a mix of respect and apprehension. This was a powerful, independent kingdom, not easily swayed by Greek adventurers. You guide the Argo into the harbor, a bustling, impressive port filled with ships unlike your own. As you disembark, you can feel the curious, wary eyes of the Colchians upon you. You are outsiders here, a group of foreign warriors on a mission that is clearly not welcome. But you are also guests. An ancient protocol dictates a certain level of hospitality, even when deeply suspicious. You are brought before King Aeetes, the ruler of Colchis. He is a formidable figure, son of the sun god Helios, and brother to powerful sorceresses like Circe, who you might remember from Odysseus's rather lengthy vacation. He sits on a grand throne, radiating power and an almost palpable suspicion. He is cunning, intelligent, and fiercely protective of his kingdom and, especially, his prized possession, the Golden Fleece. He eyes you, a single-sandaled Greek, with a mixture of disdain and caution. He knows why you're here. The rumors of your quest probably arrived before you did, carried on the winds of prophecy and nervous coastal whispers. You formally address him, stating your purpose clearly. You have come to claim the Golden Fleece. Sent by King Pelias, you present your case with all the diplomatic skill you can muster, appealing to honor, to divine will, perhaps even trying to impress him with tales of your journey so far, though you probably skipped the part about losing your shoe in a river. Aeetes listens, his expression unreadable. He doesn't want to give up the fleece. It's a symbol of his power, a divine heirloom. But he also cannot openly refuse a guest, especially one claiming a divine mandate. It's a delicate balance of power and ancient etiquette. And then you see her, standing beside King Aeetes, or perhaps entering subtly during your address. is his daughter, Medea. She's not just a princess, she's a powerful sorceress, her eyes dark and intense, holding an ancient wisdom and a hint of something wild. She's observant, perceptive, taking in every detail of your appearance, your words, your demeanor. This isn't a princess who spends her days embroidering tapestries. This is a woman with immense power, learned from her father and her aunt, Circe. And here's where the divine intervention truly kicks in. Unbeknownst to you, and perhaps even to Medea herself at this very moment, the goddesses Hera and Aphrodite, or sometimes the mischievous Eros, depending on the version of the myth you're listening to, have been quietly working behind the scenes. Hera, still favoring you from your kindness at the river, knows that only Medea's magic can truly ensure your success. Aphrodite, ever keen on matters of love and desire, is perhaps simply having a bit of fun. They conspire to strike Medea with an overwhelming, irresistible love for you. It's a rather dramatic way to introduce romance. Isn't it like being hit by a magical love bolt from above? As Medea looks at you, a strange warmth spreads through her, an undeniable pull. Her powerful, independent will suddenly finds itself captivated by the young, earnest, one-sandaled Greek hero standing before her father. This isn't just an attraction, it's a consuming divine passion that will irrevocably alter the course of your quest and her own life. This quirky tidbit of divine manipulation of Medea's emotions highlights the extent to which gods often interfered in mortal affairs, blurring the lines between free will and destiny. King Aeetes, meanwhile, comes to his decision. He won't refuse you outright, but he will set conditions. He proposes a series of impossible tasks, seemingly insurmountable challenges that he believes will surely lead to your demise. He presents them not as a punishment, but as a test, a way for you to prove your worthiness to claim the Golden Fleece. He probably has a smug look on his face, convinced he's found a loophole. He demands that you yoke his fire-breathing bulls, sow dragon's teeth, and fight the warriors that sprout from the earth. It's a rather elaborate hazing ritual, if you ask me. You listen, your mind reeling at the absurdity and danger of these tasks, but as you process Aeetes' demands, you can feel Medea's intense gaze upon you. There's something in her eyes, a flicker of sympathy, perhaps even a hint of recognition. You sense instinctively that this powerful sorceress, yep, the king's own daughter, might just be your unlikely key to unlocking the Golden Fleece. Historians still argue whether Aeetes' impossible tasks were genuinely meant to be insurmountable, or if they were a culturally specific ritualistic challenge designed to test a hero's divine favor and worthiness. Whatever his intent, his daughter's enchanted heart was about to turn the tide. The impossible tasks laid out by King Aeetes hang over you like a looming thundercloud yoking fire-breathing bulls, sowing dragon's teeth, and defeating an army born from the earth. As you leave the audience chamber, a heavy silence falls upon the Argonauts. These aren't just difficult, they're suicide missions, designed by a cunning king who clearly wants to be rid of you without getting his own hands dirty. You could probably hear the quiet despair ripple through your crew, a collective weary sigh at the sheer absurdity of it all. It's enough to make you wish you just stayed on that comfortable island with all the women. But you're not entirely alone in your despair. As you ponder your inevitable doom, a figure approaches you, subtly, quietly. It's Medea. Her eyes, which you noticed earlier, are now filled with a strange mixture of intensity and concern, a silent confession of her divinely inspired love for you. You sense her internal conflict loyalty to her fearsome father versus this overwhelming, inexplicable pull towards you. The stranger who just arrived? It's the ancient Greek equivalent of a rom-com plot twist, but with way higher stakes and more magical potions. Medea speaks to you. Her voice hushed, her words laced with a knowledge that clearly goes beyond mere princessly duties. She doesn't hesitate. She offers her help, her powerful sorcery, her deep understanding of herbs and ancient magic. She knows her father's cruel intentions, and her heart, now irrevocably tied to yours, rebels against them. She reveals a plan, a series of magical aids that will allow you to survive the king's deadly challenges. It's a remarkable moment, a testament to the power of love, or at least the power of very effective divine interference. First, she gives you a special ointment, potent and fragrant, derived from magical herbs. You are to rub it on your body and your weapons before facing the bulls. This anointing will grant you temporary invulnerability to fire and immense strength. It's like a superhero serum, but with a more earthy, botanical scent. Mainstream historical fact. The use of herbs and natural remedies for both healing and magical purposes was widespread in ancient societies, with knowledge often passed down through generations, particularly among women and those associated with cult practices. Medea's knowledge of such concoctions placed her at the pinnacle of ancient magical prowess. The next morning, the day of the first task dawns, filled with tension and a morbid curiosity from the Colchians. King Aet sits on his throne, watching, a satisfied smirk probably playing on his lips. Convinced he's about to witness your fiery demise, you step forward, the magical ointment tingling on your skin, a shield against the inferno. Two monstrous bulls, their hides the color of bronze and their nostrils flaring with smoke and fire, are brought before you. Their hooves tear at the ground, and their roars echo through the stadium, a terrifying symphony of bovine rage. They are truly magnificent, terrifying beasts, and you, a single man, are expected to harness them. It's a bit like trying to leash a couple of dragons after they've had too much coffee. But with Medea's gift, you approach them with courage. The fiery breath washes over you, hot and stinging, but the ointment protects you. You grab the bulls by their horns, their massive muscles coiling against your grip. It's a struggle of wills, man versus beast, and a man aided by powerful magic. You wrestle with them, forcing them into submission, your muscles straining, the ground trembling beneath your feet. Slowly, agonizingly, you bring them to their knees, and with immense effort, you yoke them to the plow, the very ground shaking with their frustrated bellows. The crowd, the Colchians, even Aeetes, watch in stunned silence, and they have never seen anything like it. It's a moment of sheer, unbelievable triumph. With the bulls yoked, you begin the second part of the task, plowing the field. The fiery breath of the bulls chars the earth as they pull the heavy plow. It's an arduous task, but you persist, carving deep furrows into the consecrated ground. Once the field is plowed, you reach into a pouch, where you have the dragon's teeth given to you by Aetes. These aren't just any teeth, they're the teeth of the dragon slain by Cadmus, from which a new army can sprout. It's a rather bizarre form of magical agriculture. This quirky tidbit of dragon's teeth sprouting warriors is a classic mythological motif, symbolizing the dangerous consequences of sowing seeds of conflict. You scatter the teeth across the freshly tilled field. As soon as they touch the earth, the ground begins to tremble. From the furrows, fully armed warriors begin to sprout, clad in bronze armor, swords in hand, their faces grim and menacing. These are the Spartoi, the sown men, an instant army rising from the earth. It's a terrifying sight, a nightmare come to life, as dozens of fully grown, very angry soldiers emerge from the soil around you. They look ready to make you into a very specific kind of ancient Greek compost. But Medea has prepared you for this too. She had warned you that these earthborn warriors would turn on each other if provoked. So, as they begin to turn their attention towards you, you follow Medea's crucial advice. You hurl a large stone into their midst. The stone lands, and the Spartoi, unable to determine who threw it, immediately turn their fury upon each other. It's a chaotic, brutal melee. Swords clash, spears fly, and the earthborn warriors hack and slash at their own kind, their short, brutal existence culminating in a self-destructive frenzy. You watch from a safe distance, a testament to Medea's cunning, as the magical army destroys itself, leaving behind only the bodies of the vanquished. The tasks are complete. You, a mere mortal, aided by the love and magic of a powerful sorceress, have accomplished the impossible. The Colchians are dumbfounded, murmuring in awe and fear. King Aeetes, however, is furious. His face darkens with suspicion, a realization dawning upon him. He knows that no mortal could have achieved this feat without divine or, more likely, magical aid. His gaze falls upon Medea, his own daughter, and he sees the betrayal in her eyes, the undeniable evidence of her hand in your success. He knows she helped you. Historians still argue whether Medea's intervention diminishes Jason's heroism, transforming him from a self-reliant champion into a reliant beneficiary, or if it highlights the collaborative nature of epic quests, where intelligence and magic are just as vital as brute strength. You stand victorious, exhausted but triumphant, the fire-breathing bulls now docile behind you, the field strewn with the remnants of the earthborn warriors. The golden fleece feels closer than ever, but you also feel a shift in the air, a sense of impending danger. Aeetes' anger is cold and calculating, far more dangerous than the open rage of King Amycus. He won't let you simply walk away with the fleece now. You've outsmarted him. Yes, but you've also made a powerful, vindictive enemy. And you know, deep down, that the next step will involve more than just magic ointments and clever tricks. It will involve direct confrontation for the mythical treasure. The triumphant echoes of your recent victory over Aeetes' impossible tasks quickly fade, replaced by a chilling realization. King Aeetes, his face a mask of furious betrayal, is not about to simply hand over the golden fleece. He suspects Medea's involvement and his anger, simmering beneath a veneer of royal composure, is far more dangerous than any fire-breathing bull. You can almost feel the shift in the air, the subtle change from a dangerous challenge to imminent, deadly treachery. It's like when you finish a tricky puzzle, only to realize the box contains a bomb. Medea senses it too. Her powerful magic isn't just about potions and spells, it's about intuition, about reading the currents of intent. She knows her father. She knows his ruthless nature and his fierce possessiveness over the golden fleece. Her love for you, divinely ignited, now fuels a desperate urgency. She approaches you again, her voice low and tense, outlining the immediate danger. Aeetes won't wait for sunrise. He's already plotting your demise, and probably hers too. The time for noble tests is over. The time for cunning action is now. Her plan is simple, audacious, and terrifying. You must steal the golden fleece tonight. No fanfare, no diplomatic niceties, just a swift, silent snatch and grab under the cover of darkness. You look at her, a young woman whose power is as undeniable as her new devotion to you. You could argue, you could hesitate, but something in her eyes, a desperation born of genuine fear, convinces you. You have trusted her magic this far, and it has saved your life. You decide to trust her completely. It's a leap of faith, a desperate gamble. But what choice do you have when the alternative is certain death? Under the cloak of the deepening night, you and Medea, accompanied by a few trusted Argonauts, perhaps Orpheus, for his music might come in handy, or the sharp-eyed Lynceus slip away from the city. Your destination is the sacred grove of Ares, a place steeped in ancient power, where the golden fleece is kept. Mainstream historical fact. Sacred groves and sanctuaries were common features in ancient Greek religion, often dedicated to specific deities and housing temples. Altars, or revered objects, considered inviolable spaces and places of divine power. This grove wasn't just a picturesque park, it was a consecrated space, guarded by a very serious, very mythological security system. As you approach the grove, the air grows heavy, thick with the scent of ancient earth and something else, something primal and reptilian. You can hear it even before you see it, a low, resonant hiss, a sound that vibrates through the very ground. Then you see him, the guardian of the golden fleece. Not a mere guard, Not a simple lock and key, but the Colchian dragon. This isn't just a big snake. This is a colossal serpent, its scales shimmering with metallic hues, its body coiled around the tree where the fleece hangs. It's a creature of immense size and power, its eyes like burning coals, its serpentine form a terrifying, living fortress. And most importantly, it is sleepless, never resting, never closing its eyes. It is a perpetual sentinel, an embodiment of tireless vigilance. Its breath, you notice, carries the faint, metallic scent of ancient earth and raw power. This quirky tidbit of a truly sleepless dragon emphasizes its unique, almost magical nature as a guardian, going beyond mere size or strength. Medea steps forward, her face a mask of grim determination. She knows her magic is the only thing that can overcome such a creature. She begins her incantations, her voice a low, mesmerizing hum that seems to weave itself into the very fabric of the night. She holds vials of potent concoctions, perhaps a blend of soothing herbs, potent narcotics, or even something drawn from the depths of her own dark power. She sprinkles them. She chants. She moves with a practiced grace that suggests generations of sorcery. The dragon, mighty as it is, begins to respond. Its massive head, which had been tracking your every move, slowly lowers. Its burning eyes, which have never known rest, begin to blink. Sluggishly, as if fighting an immense drowsiness. A soft, almost gentle hiss escapes its jaws, no longer a warning, but a sign of a profound, unnatural slumber. Its immense coils, which had been wrapped tightly around the tree, protecting the fleece, begin to loosen, relaxing their grip, slowly unwrapping from the ancient trunk. You watch, transfixed, as this terrifying beast succumbs to the subtle, potent power of Medea's will. It's like watching a giant, scaly baby finally drift off to sleep after a very long day. Except this baby could incinerate you with a single exhale. As the dragon's head finally sinks to the ground, its eyes, now glazed and heavy, finally close. Medea gives you a nod. This is your moment. You cautiously approach the tree, your heart pounding like a war drum. The dragon, immense even in its slumber, still feels like a presence that could awaken at any second. You reach for the golden fleece, hanging from the branches. It glows a soft, ethereal light illuminating the darkness of the grove. It feels surprisingly heavy, its golden wool shimmering with a warmth that seems to emanate from within. It's more magnificent than you ever imagined, a tangible piece of divine power and ancient legend. You grasp the fleece, pulling it free from the branches. It's yours, the object of your impossible quest. Now finally in your hands, you turn, the golden light illuminating your face, a mixture of awe and relief washing over you. Medea stands beside you, her eyes reflecting the golden glow, a slight smile playing on her lips. You did it. You actually did it. With the fleece secured, there's no time for celebration. You and Medea, holding the glowing treasure, hurry back through the dark grove, each shadow seeming to leap and twist, as if the grove itself protests the theft. The return to the Argo is equally tense. The Argonauts, huddled on deck, see the golden gleam, and a collective gasp of astonishment and relief ripples through them. There's no time for explanations, no time for triumphant cheers. The helmsman, Typhus, is already barking orders, barking. Hoist the sails. Prepare to depart. You command, your voice filled with a new urgency. Ites will discover the theft soon, and his wrath will be swift and terrible. The anchor is weighed, the sails unfurled, and the mighty oars dip into the water with a frantic, desperate rhythm. The Argo pulls away from the docks of Colchis, its hull cutting through the inky blackness of the water, leaving the sleeping city behind. You hold the golden fleece tightly, its warmth a comfort, its weight a heavy reminder of the dangerous path you've just traversed, and the even more dangerous one that lies ahead. Historians still argue whether the theft of the fleece was a necessary act of heroism given Ietz's treachery, or if it represents a moral ambiguity in Jason's character, highlighting that not all heroic acts align with conventional ethics. For now, you are a thief, a hero, and a fugitive, all in one weary, one-sandaled package. With the golden fleece clutched tightly in your hands, its ethereal glow illuminating the hurried movements on deck, the Argo makes a desperate, frantic escape from Colchis. The oarsmen pull with a newfound urgency, their muscles screaming with effort as the ship cuts through the dark waters of the Black Sea. You know that King Aeds's wrath will be swift and terrible, and you're gambling on the head start provided by the cover of night. There's no time for triumphant shouts, only the desperate whisper of the wind and the rhythmic splash of the oars. The talking timber in the keel is probably humming a very anxious, low note. Indeed, as the first gray light of dawn begins to paint the eastern sky, the alarm is raised in Colchis. Aetz, discovering the theft of his sacred fleece and, more importantly, the betrayal of his own daughter, Medea, explodes in a rage that would make the fire-breathing bulls look like kittens. He immediately mobilizes his fleet, a formidable array of Colchian warships, manned by fierce warriors, and sets off in furious pursuit. You can imagine the scene: a desperate king, humiliated and robbed, launching every available vessel into the dawn, his mind alight with vengeance. You look back, your heart sinking, as you see the sails of the pursuing Colchian fleet appearing on the horizon, growing larger with terrifying speed. They are faster, perhaps more numerous, and fueled by the king's unholy fury. It's a chilling sight, the hunter becoming the hunted, and you, the legendary hero, are suddenly reduced to a desperate fugitive. It's at this dire moment, with the Colchian ships gaining on you, that Medea reveals a side of herself that chills you to the bone. You've seen her magic, her cunning, her love for you. Now you witness her chilling, ruthless pragmatism. She has a younger brother, Absyrtus. Some accounts say he was a child brought with them as a hostage, a bargaining chip in this desperate flight. Others say he was leading a contingent of the pursuing fleet, an innocent pawn in his father's vengeful game. Regardless of his exact role, Medea uses him as a gruesome means to an end. With a cold, calculating resolve that belies her youth and newfound love, Medea takes Absyrtus. In a horrific act, she dismembers his body, cutting him into pieces. Then, with a chilling efficiency, she scatters his limbs and torso into the waves behind the Argo. You watch, horrified, as parts of the young prince float in the churning wake, leaving a trail of blood and despair. It's a truly shocking, brutal act, a vivid demonstration of her utter devotion to her escape, and to you, no matter the cost. It's a move that makes you question everything you thought you knew about your magical companion. This quirky tidbit of Medea dismembering her brother to delay her pursuers is one of the most infamous and gruesome details of the myth, highlighting her extreme nature. The gruesome logic behind this unspeakable act is grimly effective. King Aetz, seeing the mutilated remains of his own son floating in the sea, is faced with an unbearable choice. His paternal love, combined with the sacred laws of his land, compels him to stop. Mainstream historical fact. The importance of proper burial rites and the reverence for the dead were paramount in ancient Greek beliefs, believed to be essential for the deceased to find peace in the afterlife, and neglecting them was a grave offense, often punished by divine wrath. Aeetes, despite his rage and his quest for vengeance, cannot abandon his son's body to the waves. He is forced to halt his pursuit, to gather every piece of Absyrtus's remains, ensuring a proper burial, a ritual that would take time and deep grief. This horrific delay gives the Argo the precious time it needs. While Aetz and his men are engaged in the mournful, painstaking task of retrieving Absyrtus's scattered body parts, you and your Argonauts gain a crucial lead, putting distance between yourselves and the vengeful Colchian fleet. The immediate danger of capture, of being dragged back to face Aetz's full wrath, passes. You're safe, for now. But the cost of that safety is immense. The atmosphere on the Argo changes irrevocably. The shock and horror among the Argonauts are palpable. They stare at Medea with a new, fearful respect, a chilling realization of the depths of her power and her willingness to commit unspeakable acts for the sake of survival, or for the sake of your quest. It's one thing to charm a dragon, it's another to butcher your own brother. You look at her, the woman who saved you, who helped you achieve your impossible goal, and you see not just the powerful sorceress, but a creature of terrifying ruthlessness, your own moral compass, which had been so firmly pointed towards noble heroism, suddenly spins wildly. Historians still argue whether Medea's sacrifice of Absyrtus was a calculated act of strategic genius, a demonstration of her utter moral detachment due to her divine lineage and powerful magic, or an attempt by later myth-makers to explain the extreme hatred Aeetes bore for the Argonauts and justify Medea's later infamous actions. Regardless of the interpretation, this act forever stains your shared journey. The voyage continues, but it's no longer the same hopeful quest. The Golden Fleece, now safely on board, seems to almost hum with the dark energy of the deed committed to secure it. The joy of triumph is overshadowed by the chilling knowledge of Medea's chilling capabilities. You are bound to her now, not just by love, but by this dark secret, this shared atrocity. You have the fleece, but you've paid a price far greater than you could have imagined. The taste of victory is now bitter, tainted by the blood of an innocent. You sail onward, deeper into the vastness of the sea, the image of Absyrtus's scattered remains forever seared into your memory, a grim reminder of the lengths to which some will go for love, revenge, or a very shiny sheepskin. The chilling memory of Absyrtus's sacrifice hangs heavy over the Argo, a grim backdrop to the gleaming golden fleece now safely secured on board. The triumph of acquiring the fleece is utterly eclipsed by the dark deed that bought your escape. You are not simply sailing home, you are fleeing, pursued not just by King Aetz's earthly wrath, but by the celestial fury of Zeus himself, angered by the desecration of his sacred laws concerning familial murder. The talking timber in the keel, if it could, would probably be sighing a very deep, weary sigh. Its prophecies now tinged with a solemn warning. Your return journey is, therefore, far from straightforward. The gods, it seems, have decided to make you take the scenic route home, through every conceivable peril known to the ancient world. You learn, perhaps through a faint whisper from the Argo's keel, or a troubled dream, that you must seek purification for the blood of Absyrtus. This leads you to the shores of Aia, the island of Circe, Medea's aunt. Circe, a powerful sorceress herself, is initially displeased by her niece's actions, but she reluctantly grants you purification for the terrible deed. Mainstream historical fact. Purification rituals, or katharmos, were essential in ancient Greek religion to cleanse individuals of miasma, or ritual pollution, particularly after shedding blood, even unintentionally, ensuring they would not offend the gods or bring misfortune upon their community. It's essentially a divine spiritual cleansing, a mandatory stop before your cosmic credit score could improve. Leaving Circe's island, you plunge back into the perilous waters, heading west towards home. The sea, however, has a fresh set of challenges designed to test your mettle, your wits, and your very sanity. Your first major test is the dreaded passage of the sirens. You've heard the whispers, the legends of these captivating creatures. They are not merely beautiful singers, they are irresistible temptresses. Their voices weaving songs of such sweet allure that any sailor who hears them is compelled to steer his ship towards their rocky island, only to be shipwrecked and devoured. Imagine the most catchy song you've ever heard, but instead of just getting stuck in your head, it actively tries to kill you. You implement a plan, following the advice of Circe, or perhaps the wisdom of Phineas's prophecy, You instruct your men to plug their ears with beeswax, effectively rendering them deaf to the siren's fatal melody. But for you, as the leader, and for Orpheus, the ship's resident musician, there's a different strategy. As the Argo draws near the siren's isle, their voices begin to drift across the water, hauntingly beautiful, promising peace, knowledge, and every desire. You feel the pull, a deep, primal urge to abandon the ship, to surrender to the sweet oblivion of their song. It's a genuine struggle, an internal battle against a force as potent as any monster. But Orpheus rises to the occasion. He takes his lyre, and with practiced hands he begins to play. His music, powerful and resonant, weaves a counterspell of melody, drowning out the siren's calls. It's a battle of harmonies, a symphonic showdown. His notes are not just louder, they are more compelling, inspiring the Argonauts to row harder, to resist the fatal pull. One Argonaut, Butes, overcome by the siren's song, actually leaps into the sea, unable to resist. But Aphrodite, or sometimes a helpful Nereid, intervenes, saving him from a watery grave. It's a close call, a tense musical duel where the Argo's very survival hangs in the balance. This quirky tidbit of Orpheus's music literally overpowering the siren's deadly song is a fantastic example of the power of art and intellect over raw, destructive temptation. Once past the sirens, you face another infamous peril, Scylla and Charybdis. These are not just navigational hazards, they are monstrous entities guarding a narrow strait. On one side, Scylla, a hideous creature with 6 serpent heads, each capable of snatching a man from the deck. On the other, Charybdis, a monstrous whirlpool that swallows the sea 3 times a day, then spits it out again, capable of consuming entire ships. It's the ancient equivalent of having to choose between a giant, multi-headed dog and a perpetually hungry, swirling drain. You navigate this treacherous passage with extreme caution, guided by the divine guidance of the Nereids, sea nymphs sent by Hera, who nudge the Argo through the turbulent waters. You steer closer to Scylla's side, knowing that the loss of a few men is preferable to the loss of the entire ship in Charybdis's maw. It's a terrifying moment as Scylla's heads emerge, snatching several unfortunate Argonauts from the deck. Their screams are brief, chilling. You can only watch helpless, as your comrades are dragged to their gruesome deaths. It's a brutal reminder of the sacrifices still demanded by your quest. Historians still argue whether Scylla and Charybdis were entirely mythological beings, or if they were hyperbolized representations of genuine, dangerous navigational features like strong currents and rocky shoals found in the Straits of Messina. Regardless, they were a very real threat. Your journey continues, winding through the vast Mediterranean, a grueling test of endurance. You encounter other perils from the barrenness of the Libyan desert, where you're forced to portage the Argo across vast sandy stretches, to the strange encounters with various island peoples. Each stop is a gamble, each new land a potential trap. The weight of your quest, and the dark secret of Absyrtus, continues to bear down on you. Finally, you reach the island of Crete, almost within sight of home. But your troubles are not over. Crete is guarded by Tolos, a colossal bronze giant, an automaton created by Hephaestus, gifted to King Minos. He tirelessly patrols the island's shores, throwing massive rocks at any approaching ships. He's like an ancient, very aggressive robot security guard who hates visitors. This quirky tidbit of a bronze automaton guarding an island shows the advanced mythological technological concepts present in Greek legends. Medea, of course, has a plan. She uses her magic again, this time to defeat the formidable giant. Some versions say she casts a powerful spell of enchantment upon him, driving him mad. Others say she simply points out his single vulnerable spot, a nail or a plug in his ankle, which kept his vital ichor, the divine blood of the gods, contained. When the plug is removed, the ichor flows out, and Talos, the magnificent bronze giant, collapses, his immense form crashing to the earth with a thunderous sound, a hollow, echoing clang that signals his demise. The defeat of Talos is a final, monumental hurdle overcome. You stand on the shores of Crete, gazing across the familiar Aegean, so close to home, yet so far from the innocent man who began this journey. The Argonauts are exhausted, their faces etched with the strain of countless trials, their numbers diminished by the monsters and misfortunes encountered along the way. You have the Golden Fleece, a shining symbol of victory, but it is a victory bought at a terrible price. The road home was long, filled with dangers both mythical and very real, a journey that has fundamentally changed you and every man on the Argo. You are no longer just heroes seeking glory, you are survivors, carrying the scars of an epic, and often bloody, odyssey. Finally, after what feels like a lifetime of perils, monsters, and heart-wrenching goodbyes, the shores of Iolcus appear on the horizon. The weary Argonauts, their faces etched with the cumulative strain of countless trials, raise a muted cheer. You have the Golden Fleece, shimmering golden in the morning sun, a glorious, tangible symbol of your impossible victory. The talking timber in the Argo's keel, perhaps for the first time in what feels like ages, hums a note of profound relief, a soft, tired welcome home. You've brought the treasure back, but you're bringing back something else too, the quiet ghost of those lost, and the unsettling knowledge of Medea's chilling capabilities. The reception in Iolcus is a mixture of awe and trepidation. The people who had long given you up for dead now gaze upon the Golden Fleece with wonder, and upon you, the one-sandaled hero, with a strange mix of reverence and fear. News of your deeds, both glorious and gruesome, must have traveled ahead. You lead the Argonauts and Medea, now your wife, to the palace, ready to confront King Peleus and claim your rightful throne. Peleus, however, proves to be as cunning and treacherous as ever. He is older now, perhaps a little more frail, but his grip on power remains as tight as ever. You present him with the Golden Fleece, the very object of his supposedly impossible quest, laid at his feet. You have fulfilled your end of the bargain. But Peleus, true to his deceitful nature, refuses to relinquish the throne. He offers flimsy excuses, claims that the quest was not for succession, or perhaps simply denies the prophecy's binding power now that you've actually returned. It's the ultimate betrayal, a classic bait and switch, leaving you fuming but with no clear path to justice. And this is where Medea, the powerful sorceress whose love for you has already driven her to unthinkable acts, truly shines in her terrible brilliance. She sees your frustration, your righteous anger, and she concocts a plan, a final, devastating act of revenge against Peleus, one that will make the dismemberment of her brother seem like a mere prelude. She decides to use Peleus' own vanity and his daughter's desperate love for their father against him. Medea approaches Peleus' daughters, who are naturally concerned about their aging father's health and longevity. She convinces them that she has a powerful magic, a rejuvenation spell that can restore their father to his youthful prime. It's a compelling promise. Isn't it, eternal youth? A fresh start. Who wouldn't want that to prove her claim? Medea performs a chilling demonstration. She takes an old ram, decrepit and feeble, and openly, before their very eyes, cuts it into pieces and places the gory fragments into a cauldron of boiling water infused with her magical herbs and incantations. After a moment, from the bubbling cauldron, a young, vibrant lamb leaps out, bleeding happily. It's a truly convincing display of powerful, transformative magic. This quirky tidbit of the ram-to-lamb demonstration is a key element in the myth, highlighting Medea's mastery of deceptive, transformative magic. Peleus' daughters, desperate to restore their beloved father, are completely convinced. They rush to Peleus, eager to perform the same rejuvenation on him. Despite any lingering doubts, Peleus, seeing the success with the ram, and perhaps overwhelmed by the promise of renewed youth, agrees. And so, in a scene of horrifying devotion, Peleus' own daughters, believing they are helping him, tragically follow Medea's instructions. They dismember their father and place his body parts into the very same cauldron. But this time, Medea, of course, withholds the crucial, life-giving herbs. There is no magical transformation, no youthful rebirth. Instead, Peleus simply boils. It's a gruesome, agonizing death, orchestrated by the woman who loved you, executed by his own unsuspecting children. The screams that follow, the realization of the horrific truth, shatter the fragile peace of Iolcus. The people are aghast, horrified by the regicide, particularly its brutal, deceptive nature. You stand there, the golden fleece in your hand, a chilling realization washing over you. Medea, your powerful ally, your love, has now committed an act of unspeakable horror, far beyond even the murder of her brother. Her ruthlessness is absolute, her vengeance chillingly complete. The immediate aftermath is chaos. Despite having brought back the Golden Fleece, you and Medea, stained by Peleus' murder, are quickly exiled from Iolcus. The throne, which you had fought so hard to reclaim, remains out of your reach, tainted by the blood spilled to secure it. You and Medea, now inextricably bound by shared dark deeds, must flee, becoming wanderers once more. You end up in Corinth, attempting to build a new life, a new kingdom. But as you probably know, Medea's story doesn't end there, and neither, truly, does yours, though the glory of the quest is now behind you. Her rage and her magic will resurface in even more terrifying ways later. Your own ultimate fate is often portrayed as less grand than your quest. You lose divine favor. Perhaps Medea's magic was the true source of your success, and eventually you meet a rather inglorious end, often by a rotten timber from your own beloved Argo, a ship that, even in decay, manages to be present at your final moments. It's a bittersweet, almost sarcastic end to a man who achieved so much. Historians still argue about the precise details of Jason's post-Argonautic life and death, often debating whether his diminished status was a literary choice to emphasize the tragic consequences of Medea's actions, or if it reflects the shifting values of heroism in different mythological traditions. The journey of the Argonauts, for all its epic scope and incredible achievements, ends not with a triumphant reign in Iolcus, but with exile, betrayal, and a profound sense of the true cost of ambition and unchecked power. You brought back the Golden Fleece, a symbol of immense wealth and power, but at the cost of your innocence or your comrades, and ultimately, your quiet peace. It's a potent reminder that not every victory brings joy, and sometimes, the greatest legends carry the heaviest burdens. Ow, as the Argo drifts silently towards the quiet harbors of memory, and the golden glow of the fleece fades into the distant mists of myth, you can allow yourself to truly relax. The roar of the simple gades, the hiss of the dragon, the shouts of battle all recede into the gentle background hum of your fan. The grand adventure, with its triumphs and its tragedies, its heroes and its dark sorcery, now sinks into the softest folds of your mind. Let the brave Argonauts find their rest. Let the cursed kings find their peace. And let the echoes of ancient myths lull you into a deep, dreamless slumber. The journey is over, the story is told, and the sleepy depths of the night await. End of script. Sweet dreams.